Hello and welcome back to this coding challenge. In this case, you had to write a Python program that prints a string without a specific character, without the character at the index indicated by the value of n. In this case, we are using n to refer to the index of the character that we want to remove. For example, in this case, we have the string hello and we have index 1. So the output that we are expecting would be something like this. HLLO. We want to remove the character at index 1, which is the letter E. And that will apply with any string that we test. And if the index is out of range, we just want to print the string intact. And if the string is empty, we want to print it intact. So those are the different cases that we have to implement in our code. Let's see how we can do this with a conditional and a loop. Right here we are checking if the length of the string is equal to 0, so if the string is empty, or if the index that we specified is out of range. If it is greater than or equal to the length of the string, then we just have to print the string intact. That is what the problem is asking us to do. If the string is empty, or if the index is out of range, we just print the string intact. If that is not the case, then we do have to start making the new string without the character. Remember that strings are immutable, so we cannot actually modify them in our code. We have to create a copy of the string. And we are going to store this copy in the variable new s. Initially, that new string will be empty, and we will be adding the characters that we do want to include. How are we going to do that? Well, we are going to use this for loop. We said in a previous exercise that this particular call to range, when we pass the length of the string, returns a sequence that represents all the indices in the string from 0 up to the length of the string minus 1. So I will take all the values of the indices of the string. In this case, we have the string hello, for example. So if we make a small diagram with the indices, we will see 0, 1, 2, 3, and 4. These are the values that I will take. We will have one iteration per character right here, where I will initially have the value 0, then it will have the value 1, then 2, 3, 4, and so on. And we are going to check. If the value of the current index that we are evaluating is different from the index that we want to omit, the index that we don't want to include, then we are going to add the character at that index to the new string. For example, right here, if we reach index 1, this will be false. I will be equal to n once we reach index 1. So we are not going to include the character e. But if the index is not the one that we specified, then we are going to add the character at that index. And that is what we are doing right here with this conditional. We are checking if the index is not the one that we want to omit. And if it isn't, we just add the character at that index to the new string. And we print the new string as the output. Let's see how this works in more detail. For example, if we have the string hello, we will have one iteration per character. Hello has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 characters, so we will have 5 iterations. In the first iteration, the value of I will be 0. The value of n that we want to omit is equal to 1, okay? So 0 is not equal to 1, so this is true, and we can just add the character to the new string. The character at index 0 is, let me write this right here so you can see it better, is the letter H. And after that, we have to add it to the new string, which is H. Now, when we reach I equals 1, we do have a small problem because that is the index that we want to omit. Okay, so we're not going to do anything. This condition will be false, they are equal. So we're not going to do anything, we're just going to omit all the process that we do for the other characters. And the process will continue. For I equals 2, we will have the character at index 2, which is L. And we are going to add it to the new string. Now the new string will be HL. For I equals 3, we will have this. another character L, and we add that to the string HLL, and finally for I equals 4, we are going to have the character at index 4, which is O, and we just add it to the string HLLO, and that will be our output. Notice that we just removed the character at index 1. We just didn't do anything when we reached that index. And that is the basic principle of this conditional that we have right here. Awesome, so let's save the file and run our code to see the output. Let's zoom in to this table so we can see that the actual output of the code is equal to the output that we predicted with our table. Awesome, right? We removed the character at that specific index. But does this work with every single index that we can specify in the string? Well, let's check. If we change 1 to 3, we should be omitting this character, which is at index 3. Let's run the code, and now we see like this. It is omitting the correct character. We are omitting one of the L's, the character at index 3. Awesome. Let's remove these comments and let's test this with a different string, like for example, world. If we omit the character at index 3 of the string world, that would be 0, 1, 2, and 3. That would be the letter L. And we see word as the output without the letter L, which is exactly what we needed. Now let's test our special cases. We have dog and we want to remove the character at index 15, which is not a valid index for the string. We just see the string intact, and that is what the problem was asking us to do. This condition was true, so we printed the string intact. And this will also work if we have an empty string. We see a blank output because this condition was true, and we just print the empty string. Awesome, now you know how option 1 works behind the scenes. Let me delete these comments and this table so we can start diving into our second option, which is very similar with just a small modification. So you can improve the conciseness of your code. Right here we have our second option. We also have these two variables and the conditional and the else clause. This part of the code is exactly the same. The only change that I made right here was this part of the condition. Instead of comparing if the length of the string is equal to 0, now we are using truthy and falsy values, like you learned in a previous exercise. We are using the fact that empty strings are false and non-empty strings are true. So if we want to check if a string is empty, we just write this. If the string is empty, we get this by writing not followed by the variable that references or that stores the string. If the variable is empty or if the index is out of range, then we print the string intact. And that is the only modification that we make in option 2. If we run the code to test it, we see that the character was removed successfully from the index that we specified. And if we try a different index, we will also see the correct output. We see the letter L removed. Great work so far! Now you know how to solve this coding challenge step by step and how the solution works behind the scenes. When you're ready, let's start working on the next coding challenge so you can continue practicing your Python skills.